Okay, welcome back everyone. We're going to go ahead and read chapter 3 of The Hobbit. Okay, here we go. Chapter 3. A short rest. They did not sing or tell stories that day, even though the weather improved, nor the day after. They had begun to feel that danger was not far away on either side. They camped under the stars, and their horses had more to eat than they had, for there was plenty of grass, but there was not much in their bags, even with what they thought they had got from the trolls. One morning they forded a river at a wide, shallow place full of the noise of stones and foam. The far bank was steep and slippery. When they got to the top of it, leading their ponies, they saw that the great mountains had marched down very near to them. Already they seemed only a day's or an easy journey from the feet of the nearest. Dark and dear it looked, though there were patches of sunlight, and its brown sides, and behind its soldiers the tips of its snow peaks gleamed. "Is that the mountain?" asked Bilbo in a solemn voice, looking at it with round eyes. He had never seen a thing that looked so big before. "Of course not," said Balin. "That's only the beginning of the Misty Mountains, and we've got to get through it, or over, or under those somehow, before we can come into Winterland beyond. And it is a deal of a way even from the other side of them to the lonely mountain in the east where Smaug lies on our treasure." "Oh," said Bilbo, and just at the moment he felt more tired than he ever remembered feeling before. He was thinking once again of his comfortable chair before the fire in his favorite sitting room in his hobbit hole, and the kettle singing, not for the last time. Now Gandalf led the way. "We must not miss the road, or we shall be done for," he said. "We need food for one thing, and rest in reasonable safety. Also, it's very necessary to tackle the Misty Mountains by the proper path, or else you'll get lost in them, and you have to come back and start at the beginning again, if you ever get back at all." They asked him where he was making for, and he answered, "You are come to the very edge of the wild. As some of you may know, hidden somewhere ahead of us is the fair valley of Rivendell, where Elrond lives in the last homely house. I sent a message by my friends, and we are expected." That sounded nice and comforting, but they had not got there yet, and it was not easy, as it sounds, to find the last homely house west of the mountains. There seemed to be no trees, no valleys, no hills to break the ground in front of them, only one vast slope going slowly up and up to meet the feet of the nearest mountain. A wide land, the color of heather, and crumbling rock with patches and slashes of grass green and moss green showing where water might be. Morning passed, afternoon came, but in all the silent waste there was no sign of any dwelling. They were growing anxious, for they saw now that the house might be hidden almost anywhere between them and the mountains. They came on unexpected valleys, narrow with steep sides that opened suddenly at their feet, and they looked down, surprised to see trees below them and running water at the bottom. There were gullies that they could have almost leapt for, but very deep with the waterfalls in them. There were dark ravens that one could neither jump over nor ride onto. There were bogs, some of them green, pleasant places to look at, with flowers growing bright and tall, but a pony that walked there with a pack on its back would never have come out again. It was indeed a much wider land from the fort of the mountains than ever you would have guessed. others gathered round him and looked over the edge. They saw a valley far below. They could hear the voice of hurrying water in a rocky bed at the bottom. The scent of trees was in the air, and there was a light on the valley side across the water. Bilbo never forgot the way, slithered and slipped in the dusk down the steep zigzag path into the secret valley of Rivendell. The air grew warmer as they got lower, and the smell of the pine trees made him drowsy, so every now and again he nodded and nearly fell off or bumped his nose on the pony's neck. The spirits rose as they went down and down. The trees changed to beech and oak, and there was a comfortable feeling in the twilight. The last green almost faded out of the grass when they came at length to an open glade, not above the banks of the stream. It smells like elves, said Bilbo, and he looked up at the stars. They were burning bright and blue. Just there came a burst of a song, like laughter in the trees. Oh, what are you doing, and where are you going? Your ponies need showing. The river is flowing. Oh, la la, here down in the valley. Oh, what are you seeking, and where are you making? The bunnocks are baking. Oh, trilla-la-la, the valley is jolly. Where are you going with beards all wagging? No knowing, no knowing. What brings Mr. Baggins and Ballin and Dwallin down in the valley in June? Oh, will you be saying? Will you be flying? Your ponies are staying. The daylight is dying. The fly could be folly. To stay would be jolly, and listen and hark till the end of the dark to our tune. So they laughed and sang in the trees, and pretty fair nonsense, I dare say you think it. Not that they would care, they would only laugh all the more if you told them so. They were elves, of course. Soon Bilbo caught glimpses of them as the darkness deepened. He loved elves, though he seldom met them. But he was a little frightened of them, too. Dwarves don't get on well with them. Even decent enough dwarves like Thorin and his friends think them foolish, or get annoyed of them. For some elves tease them and laugh at them, and most of all of them hate beards. Well, well, said a voice. Just look, Bilbo the Hobbit on a pony. My dear, isn't it delicious? Most astonishingly wonderful. Then off they went into another song, as ridiculous as the last one I've written down in full. At last, one tall young fellow came out of the trees and bowed to Gandalf and to Thorin. Welcome to the valley, he said. Thank you, said Thorin, but Gandalf was already off his horse and among the elves talking merrily with them. You're a little out of your way, said the elf. That is, if you are making for the path across the water and to the house beyond. We will set you right, but you had best get on your foot until you are over the bridge. Are you going to stay a bit and sing with us, or will you go straight on? Supper is preparing over there, he said. I can smell the wood fires for the cooking. Tired as he was, Bilbo would have liked to stay a while. Elvish singing is not a thing to miss. In June under the stars, not if you care for such things. Also, he would have liked to have a few private words with these people that seemed to know his names and all about him. Although he had never seen them before, he thought their opinion of his adventure might be interesting. Elves know a lot and are wondrous folk for news, and know what is going on among the people of the land as quick as the water flows, or even quicker. But the dwarves were all for supper as soon as possible just then, and would not stay. On they went, leading their ponies till they were brought to a good path, so at last to the very brink of the river. It was flowing fast and noisily, a mountain streams do of a summer evening when the sun has been all day on the snow far above. There was only one narrow bridge of stone without parapet, as narrow as a pony could well walk on, and over that they had to go slow and good night, said Gandalf, who come last. Valleys have ears, and some elves have only merry tongues. Good night. And so at last they came to the last homely house and found its doors flung wide. Now it is a strange thing, but things are good to have, and days that are good to spend are soon told about it, and not much to listen to, while things that are uncomfortable, palpitating, and even gruesome may make a good tale, and take a deal of telling anyway. They stayed long in that good house, 14 days at least, and they found it hard to leave. Bilbo would gladly have stopped there forever, supposing a wish would have taken him right back to this hobbit hole without trouble. Yet there is little to tell about their stay. The master of the house was an elf friend, one of these people whose fathers came into the strange stories before the beginning of history, the wars of the evil goblins and the elves, and the first men in the north. In the days of our tale, there were still some people who had both elves and heroes of the north for ancestors, and Elrond, the master of the house, was their chief. He was as noble and as fair in face as an elf lord, as strong as a warrior, as wise as a wizard, and as venerable as a king of dwarves, and as kind as summer. He comes into many tales, but this part of the story of Bilbo's great adventure is only a small one, though important, as you will see, if you ever get to the end of it. His story was perfect. His house was perfect, whether sitting and thinking best or a pleasant mixture of them all. Evil things did not come into that valley. I wish I had time to tell you even a few of the tales, one or two, of the songs that they heard in the house. All of them, the ponies as well, grew refreshed and the strong in a few days. Their clothes were mended as well as their bruises, their tempers and their hopes. Their bags were filled with food and provisions, light to carry but strong to bring them over the mountain passes. Their plans were improved with the best advice. So the time came to Midsummer Eve, and they were to go on again with the early sun on midsummer morning. Elrond knew all about the runes of every kind. That day he looked at the swords they had brought from the troll's lair, and he said, "These are not troll-made. They are old swords, very old swords of the high elves of the west, my kin. They were made in Gondolin for the goblin wars. They must have come from a dragon's hoard, and goblins destroyed that city many years ago. This Thorin the runes named Orcrist, the goblin clever, in the ancient tongue of Gondolin. It was a famous blade. This Gandalf was Glamdring, foehammer that the king of Gondolin once wore. Keep them well. Whence did the trolls get them, I wonder?" said Thorin, looking at his sword with new interest. "I cannot say," said Elrond, "but one may guess that your trolls had plundered other plundiers, or come to the remnants of old robberies in some hold in the mountains. I've heard that there are still forgotten treasures of old to be found in the deserted caverns of the mines of Moria since the dwarf and goblin war." Thorin pondered these words. "I will keep the sword in honor," he said. "May it soon cleave goblins once again." "I wish that is likely to be granted soon enough in the mountain," said Elrond. "But show me now your map." He took at it and gazed long at it, and it shook his head, for if he did not altogether approve of dwarves and their love of gold, crescent moon a long while ago. What do they say? Said Gandalf and Thorin together, a bit vexed, perhaps, that even Elrond should have found this first. There really had not been chance before, and there would not have been another one until goodness knows when. Stand by the grey stone where the thrush knocks, said Elrond, and the setting sun with the light of Durin's day will shine upon its keyhole. Durin, Durin, said Thorin. He was the father of the fathers of the eldest race of dwarves, the Longbeards, and my first ancestor. I am his heir. Then what is Durin's day? Said Elrond. The first day of the dwarves' new year, said Thorin. Is this all should know the first day of the last moon of autumn, on the threshold of winter? We still call it Durin's day, when the last moon of autumn and the sun are in the sky together. But this will not help us much, I fear, for it passes our skills in these days to guess when such a